Hello, Petal. How you doing? How are things? Huge apologies for the extended delay, but please stop the world. I want to get off. It's all gone a bit mental. I'm not talking about the outside stuff because we can see all that's going a bit mental. Um, I seriously, I must have given a puppy a stern look in a past life, or I don't know, scowled at a kitten or something, because literally this year has been a swine from start to now. I dread to think what's going to happen for the rest of the year, but I have to knock on wood. And hopefully things will improve. So, yeah. But my mum did have a collapse yesterday, and she's in hospital right now. So, yes, I'll be getting the news on that one, hopefully, a bit later on. And I'll give them a call. So, yes, onwards we go. We have got a new addition to the herd, and his name is Elvie, and he's gorgeous. He's a little rescue dog. He had a really horrible start to life. Very timid, but the sweetest little boy. I cannot even tell you. He's following me around like a duckling right now, which is absolutely lovely. He's got the biggest ears you've ever seen. You could pick up satellite on them. And yeah, the herd dynamics have changed in the past few weeks. So we now have Davros and Xena, Ellie, and Elvie, and Bolt's going to be with us for as long as we can. So, because as you know, he had a stroke a few weeks back when the same week that Yuffie passed away, and he's been having seizures. So, under vet's consultation. So, hoping he'll just carry on and let us know what he wants to do. So yeah. Yay. Sorry, I wasn't intending to actually tell you about all of this, but I just want to share because it has been incredibly challenging. Lots of other stuff has been going on, and it's got to that point where it's one thing after another, and we all go through it, and we just keep our faces forward, putting a brave face on it, and it kind of helps. Talking like this helps. Being on here helps. You guys are incredible, and please always share if you need to. If you want to email me, you can do. Obviously, if you want to leave a comment, by all means. But I'm so glad you're here. And I know it's been a long time, but by Eckers, I find this therapeutic. But in the last few weeks, it's just been carnage. So yes, I either scowled at a kitten or I kicked a puppy accidentally. But something's gone on in past life for this to be going on this year. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to ask you, and as usual and as always, please let me know how you're getting on. I do appreciate you all very, very much. And I know I say it every time, you must be sick of it by now, but I really appreciate you guys so very much. Right. Pull me big girl pants on. Well, I still have pants on. Just pull them up right up to my chin and do this thing. I'm going to try and rework this chapter, get this started off. Maybe rework the voices a little bit. Let's have a look at it. Tell me what you think. Tell me if there's anything I can change. And we'll take this one as a practice one. Okay? So I know I've already done kind of like an excerpt already, but we're going to do the chapter, see how we get on. New characters, new voices. Really got to turn that off. Notifications from Discord, for crying out loud. It's not even, nobody's messaging me or talking to me. It's just stuff. My goodness gracious. Baggins TV. Hey. Oh, what you do? Sorry, just took a quick break there and lost all tangent of thought because I called the hospital and she's been transferred to another ward because I think it's her heart that caused the collapse yesterday. So we shall cross our fingers and kind of talk to all the different religions and see if any of them wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of a hand on this one. Religions, faith, beliefs, just lapse of the gods. Anything would be great right now. But this is going to be an experiment and a distraction, and let me know what you think. I've looked at your comments about Aahz being more kind of like more of a kind of like Foghorn Leghorn or Manhattan or posh. So I'm going to see what I can do with Aahz. I'll try and do something a bit more rare, but a bit restrained, rare, maybe. And I might, just bear with me on it. Okay, I might do this a little bit differently. So please, my baby. Chaos, right. Are we ready? Are you sitting comfortably? Are you ready? Chapter 1 of a new series that we are going to read by Robert Aspirin. Another fine myth. Take the universe as it is. Add devils, dragons, and magic, and then stand back. This one is going to be another story of my life right now. But they're only short books, so this is going to be interesting. We like the look of this one. Bear with me, just going to drink some tea. Sodding pollen. I will get this book started. Chapter 1. There are things on heaven and earth, Horatio. Man was not meant to know. Hamlet. One of the few redeeming facets of instructors, I thought, is that occasionally they can be fooled. It was true when my mother taught me to read. It was true when my father tried to teach me to be a farmer. And it's true now when I'm learning magic. You haven't been practicing. Garkin's harsh admonishment interrupted my musings. I have too, I protested. It's just a difficult exercise. As if in response, the feather I was levitating began to tremble and wobble in midair. You aren't concentrating, he accused. It's the wind, I argued. I wanted to add, from your loud mouth, but didn't dare. Early in our lessons, Garkin had demonstrated his lack of appreciation for cheeky apprentices. The wind, he sneered, mimicking my voice. Like this, dolt. My mental contact with the object of my concentration was interrupted as the feather darted suddenly toward the ceiling. It jarred to a halt as if it had become embedded in something, though it was still a foot from the wooden beams, and slowly rotated to a horizontal plane. Just as slowly it rotated on its axis, then swapped ends and began to glide around in invisible circles like a leaf caught in an eddy. I risked a glance at Garkin. He was draped over his chair, feet dangling, his entire attention apparently devoted to devouring a leg of roast lizard bird. A bird I had snared, I might add. Concentration, indeed. Narrator's note. I popped out to walk the new little man yesterday, and I actually found half a bird. Well, technically, it's a wing, just massive bird wing that was on the floor, which I think had come from a car. And I was like, no, you can't sniff at that. And I was like, it was a bit of a bird, and I wasn't expecting that. That was odd. I digress. He looked up suddenly, and our eyes met. It was too late to look away, so I simply looked back at him. Hungry? His grease-flecked salt and pepper beard was suddenly framing a wolfish grin. Then show me how much you've been practicing. It took me a heartbeat to realise what he meant. Then I looked up desperately. The feather was tumbling forward, a bare shoulder height from landing. Forcing the sudden tension from my body, I reached out with my mind. Gently, form a pillow. Don't knock it away. The feather halted a scant 2 handspans from the floor. I heard Garkin's lower chuckle, but didn't allow it to break my concentration. I hadn't let the feather touch the floor for 3 years, and it wasn't going to touch now. Slowly, I raised it until it floated at eye level. Wrapping my mind around it, I rotated it on its axis, then enticed it to swap ends. As I led it through the exercise, its movement was not as smooth or sure as when Garkin set his mind to the task, but it did move unerringly in its assigned course. Although I had not been practicing with the feather, I had been practicing. When Garkin was not about, or preoccupied with his own studies, I devoted most of my time to levitating pieces of metal keys, to be specific. Each type of levitation had its own inherent problems. Metal was hard to work with because it was an inert material. The feather, having once been part of a living thing, was more responsive. No, it's not. That one that was on the bloody floor was not responsive. God. I digress. Too responsive. To lift metal took effort. To manoeuvre a feather required subtlety. Of the two, I preferred to work with metal. I could see a more direct application of that skill in my chosen profession. Good enough, lad. Now put it back in the book. I smiled to myself. This part I'd practiced, not because of its potential applications, but because it was fun. The book was lying open on the end of the workbench. I brought the feather down in a long, lazy spiral, allowing it to pass lightly across the pages of the book, and up in a swooping arc, stopped it and brought it back. As it approached the book the second time, I disengaged part of my mind to dart ahead to the book. As a feather crossed the pages, the book snapped shut like the jaws of a hungry predator, trapping the missile within its grasp. Intoned Garkin. A trifle showy, but effective. Just a little something I worked up when I was practicing, I said casually, reaching out with my mind for the other lizard-bird leg. Instead of floating gracefully to my waiting hand, however, it remained on the wooden platter as if it had taken root. Not so fast, my little sneak thief. So you've been practicing, eh? He stroked his beard thoughtfully with the half-gnawed bone in his hand. Certainly, didn't it show? It occurred to me that Garkin is not as easy to fool as it sometimes seems. In that case, I'd like to see you light that candle. It should be easy if you've been practicing as much as you claim. I've no objections to trying, but as you've said yourself so many times, some lessons come easier than others. Although I sounded confident, my spirit sank as the large candle came floating to the work table in response to Garkin's summons. In 4 years of trying, I was yet to be successful at this particular exercise. If Garkin was going to keep me from food until I was successful, narrator's note, harsh, I could go hungry for a long time, narrator's note, I couldn't. Say, Garkin, it occurs to me I could probably concentrate better on a full stomach. It occurs to me that you're stalling. Couldn't I... Now, Skeeve. There was no swaying him once he used my proper name. Narrator's note, like if parents actually use your full name, including surnames and middle names. And that look. There was no swaying him once he used my proper name. That much I had learned over the years. Lad, thief, idiot, turnip head, although derogatory. As long as he used one of these, his mind was still open. Once he reverted to using my proper name, it was hopeless. It is indeed a sorry state when the sound of your own name becomes a knell of doom. Narrator's note, I frickin' relate to that one. Welp, if there was no way around it, I'd just have to give it my best shot. For this, there could be no half-effort or feigned concentration. I would have to use every ounce of my strength and skill to summon that power. I studied the candle with a detached mind, momentarily blanking the effort ahead from my consciousness. The room, the cluttered workbench, Garkin, even my own funga. Funga? What's a funga? I'm not freaking cool what that is. Garkin, even my own hunger faded from view as I focused on the candle, though I had long since memorized its every feature. It was stout, nearly 6 inches across to stabilize its 10-inch height. I had carved numerous mystic symbols into its surface, copied painstakingly from Garkin's books at his direction, though many of them were partially obliterated by hardened rivulets of wax. The candle had burned many long hours to light my studies, but it had always been lit from a taper from the cooking fire and not from my efforts. Negative thought. Stop it. I will light the candle this time. I will light it because there is no reason I should not. Consciously deepening my breathing, I began to gather the power. Narrator's note, gather. My world narrowed further until all I was aware of was the curled, blackened wick of the candle. I am Skeeve. My father has a farmer's bond with the earth. My mother was an educated woman. My teacher is a master magician. I am Skeeve. I will light this candle. I could feel myself beginning to grow warm as the energies began to build within me. I focused on the heat. Focused the heat on the wick. Like my father, I tapped the strength of the earth. The knowledge my mother gave me is like a lens, enabling me to focus what I have gained. The wisdom of my teacher directs my efforts to those points of the universe most likely to yield to my will. I am Skeeve. The candle remained unlit. There was sweat on my forehead now, and I was beginning to tremble with the effort. No, that was wrong. I should not tense. Relax. Don't try to force it. Relax. Tenseness hinders the flow. Let the energies pass freely. Serve as a passive conductor. I forced myself to relax, consciously letting my muscles in my face and shoulders go slack as I redoubled my efforts. The flow was noticeably more intense now. I could almost see the energy streaming from me to my target. I stretched out a finger which focused the energies even more. The candle remained unlit. I couldn't do it. Negative thought. Stop it. I am Skeeve. I will light the candle. My father... No, negative thought. Do not rely on others for your strength. I will light the candle because I am Skeeve. Da-da-da. I was rewarded by a sudden surge of energy at the thought. I pursued it, growing heady with power. I am Skeeve. I am stronger than any of them. I escaped my father's attempts to chain me to a plough as he had my brother. My mother died from her idealism, but I used her teachings to survive. My teacher is a gullible fool who took a thief for an apprentice. I have beaten them all because I am Skeeve. I will light the candle. I was floating now. I realised how my abilities dwarfed those around me. Whether the candle lit or not was inconsequential. I am Skeeve. I am powerful. Almost contemptuously, I reached out with my mind and touched the wick. A small bright ember appeared as if in answer to my will. Startled, I sat up and blinked at the candle. As I did, the ember disappeared, leaving a small white plume of smoke to mark its departure. I realised too late I'd broken the concentration.
Excellent, lad, excellent.
Garkin was suddenly beside me, pounding my shoulder enthusiastically. How long had he been there? I neither knew or cared. It went out, I said plaintively.
Never you mind that. You lit it. You have the confidence now. Next time it will be easy. By the stars, we'll make a magician of you yet. Here, you must be hungry.
I barely got my hand up in time to intercept the remaining lizard bird leg before it smacked into my face. No, it's no. It was cold.
I don't mind admitting I was beginning to despair, lad. What made that lesson so hard? Has it occurred to you you could use that spell to give you an extra light when you're picking a lock, or even start a fire to serve as diversion?
I thought about it, but extra light could draw unwanted attention. As for starting a diversion, I would be afraid of hurting someone. I don't want to hurt anyone, I stopped, realising what I was saying too late. A heavy cuff from Garkin sent me sprawling off my stool.
I thought so. You're planning to be a thief. You want to use my magics to steal.
He was towering in his rage, but for once I stood my ground. What of it? I snarled. It beats starving. What's so good about being a magician anyway? I mean, your lifestyle here gives me so much to look forward to. I gestured at the cluttered room that was the entirety of the hut.
Listen to the wolfling complain.
Garkin sneered.
It was good enough for you when the winter drove you out of the woods to steal, and it beats sleeping under a bush, you said.
And it still does, so I'm still here. But I am not going to spend the rest of my life here. Hiding in a little hut in the woods is not my idea of a future to look forward to. No, it's not. I wouldn't mind. I honestly wouldn't mind. Give me a little bit of satellite and I'll be fine. I would be fine. You were living on roots and berries until I came along and started trapping meat for the fire. Maybe that's your idea of a wonderful life, Garkin, but it's not mine. We glared at each other for several long moments. Now that my anger was vented, I was more than a little afraid. While I had not had extensive experience in the field, I suspected that sneering at magicians was not the best way to ensure a long and healthy life. Surprisingly enough, though, it was Garkin who gave ground first. He suddenly dropped his gaze and bowed his head, giving me a rare view of the unkempt mass of hair atop it.
Perhaps you're right, Skeeve.
His voice was strangely soft.
Perhaps I have been showing you all the work of magic, but not the rewards. I constantly forget how suppressed magic is in these lands.
He raised his eyes to meet mine again, and I shivered at the impact. They were not angry, but deep within them burned a glow I had never seen before.
Know you now, Skeeve, that all lands are not like this one, nor was I always as you see me now. In lands where magic is recognized instead of feared as it is here, it is respected and commissioned by those in power. There, a skillful magician could reap 100 times the wealth you aspire to as a thief, and such power that...
He broke off suddenly and shook his head as if to clear it. When he opened his eyes again, the glow I had seen burning earlier had died to an ember.
But you aren't to be impressed by words, are you, lad? Come, I'll show you a little demonstration of some of the power you may one day wield if you practice your lessons, that is.
The joviality in his voice was forced. I nodded my agreement in answer to that burning gaze. Truth to tell, I needed no demonstration. His soft, brief oration had awed me far more than any angry tirade or demonstration, but I did not wish to contradict him at this time. I don't believe he actually noticed my response. He was already striding into the large pentagram permanently inscribed on the floor of the hut. As he walked, he gestured absent-mindedly, and the charred copper brazier scuttled forth from its place in the corner to meet him at the centre of the pentagram. I had time to reflect that perhaps it was that brazier that had first drawn me to Gorkin. I remembered the first time I peered through the window of his hut, seeking to identify and place objects of value for a later theft. I had seen Garkin, as I have seen him so often since, pacing restlessly up and down the room, his nose buried in a book. It was a surprising enough sight as it was, for reading is not a common pastime in this area, but what captured my attention was the brazier. It hobbled around the room, following Gorkin like an impatient puppy that was a little too polite to jump up on his master to get his attention. Then Garkin had looked up from his book, stared thoughtfully at his workbench, then with a nod of decision gestured. A small pot of unidentified content rose from the clutter and floated to his waiting hand. He caught it, referred to his book again, and poured out a dollop without looking up. Quick as a cat, the brazier scrambled under his hand and caught the dollop before it reached the floor. That had been my introduction to magic. Something wrenched my attention back to the present. What was it? I checked Gorkin's progress. No, he was still at work, half hidden by a floating cloud of vials and jars, mumbling as he occasionally plucked one from the air and added a bit of its contents to the brazier. Whatever he was working on, it promised to be spectacular. Then I heard it again. A muffled step outside the hut. But that was impossible. Gorkin always set the... I began to search my memory. I could not recall Garkin setting the protective wards before he started to work. Ridiculous. Caution was the first and most important thing Garkin hammered into me, and part of caution was always setting wards before you started work, and he could not have forgotten. But he had been rather intense and distracted. I was still trying to decide if I should attempt to interrupt Garkin's work when he suddenly stepped back from the brazier. He fixed me with his gaze, and my warning died in my throat. This was not the time to impose reality on the situation. The glow was back in his eyes, stronger than before.
Even demonstrations should give a lesson, he intoned. Control, Skeeve. Control is the mainstay of magic. Power without control is a disaster. That is why you practice with a feather, though you are able to move much larger and heavier objects. Control. Even your meager powers would be dangerous unless controlled. And I will not teach you more until you have learned that control.
He carefully stepped out of the pentagram.
To demonstrate the value of control, I will now summon forth a demon, a being from another world. He is powerful, cruel, and vicious, and would kill us both if given the chance. Yet despite this, we need not fear him, because he will be controlled. He will be unable to harm us or anything else in this world as long as he is contained within that pentagram. Now watch, Skeeve. Watch. And learn.
So saying, he turned once more to the brazier. He spread his hands, and as he did, the 5 candles at the points of the pentagram sprang into life, and the lines of the pentagram began to glow with an eerie blue light. Silence reigned for several minutes. Then he began to chant in a low mumble. A thread of smoke appeared from the brazier, but instead of rising to the ceiling, it poured onto the floor and began to form a small cloud that seethed and pulsed. Gorkin's chanting was louder now, and the cloud grew and darkened. The brazier was almost obscured from view, but there, in the depths of the cloud, something was taking shape.
Eastfall sends his greetings, Garkin.
I nearly jumped out of my skin at the words. They came from inside the hut, but not inside the pentagram. I whirled toward their source. A figure was standing just inside the door, blinding in a glowing gold cloak. For a mad moment I thought it was the demon answering Garkin's summons. Then I saw the crossbow. It was a man, all right, but the crossbow, cocked and loaded in his hand, did little for my peace of mind. Garkin did not even turn to look.
Not now, you fool,
he snarled.
It has been a long hunt, Garkin.
The man continued as if he hadn't heard.
You've hidden yourself well, but did you really hope to escape? You dare!
Garkin spun from his work, towering in his rage. The man saw Garkin's face now, saw the eyes, and his face contorted in a grotesque mask of fear. Reflexively, he loosed the bolt from his crossbow, but too late. I did not see what Garkin did, but things were happening too fast. But the man suddenly disappeared in a sheet of flame. He shrieked in agony and fell to the floor. The flame disappeared as suddenly as it had come, leaving only the smouldering corpse as evidence it had existed at all. I remained rooted to the spot for several moments before I could move or even speak. Garkin, I said at last. Garkin. Garkin's form was a crumpled lump on the floor. I was at his side in one bound, but I was far too late. The crossbow bolt protruded with silent finality from his chest. Garkin had given me my last lesson. As I stooped to touch his body, I noticed something that froze my blood in its veins. Half hidden by his form was the extinguished candle from the north point of the pentagram. The lines were no longer glowing blue. The protective spell was gone. With agonizing effort, I raised my head and found myself gazing into a pair of yellow eyes, flecked with gold, that were not of this world. Oh, it's gonna be such a good series. I can hardly contain my excitement on this one. Seriously, I'm not even joking. This is fab. This is absolutely fab. So yeah, things are a bit right now. They're a bit. But I appreciate all of you very, very, very much, and I'm sorry for all the whinging and whining this year. I was, normally 1 or 2 things are happening, you think, yeah, that's life. Maybe 3 or 4 things happening, you think, what did I do to deserve this? And you go into that whole pity party thing. When it's 5 or 6 things going on that are really quite epic in your life, you're like, come on now. Is it because I haven't got a religion in my life? I haven't got a faith or something? It's like, what's going on here? Is there a camera somewhere? Is it hidden? And then you just laugh hysterically until you crumple into a pile of dust. So, my lovely beans, they're short chapters. I'll do my best to give you another one in a couple of days' time. I appreciate you. I appreciate the messages. You're amazing people, and you make my day. So, if it's cold out there, wrap up warm, have a nice cup of tea. If it's too hot out there, hydrate. But yeah, because it was boiling in that hospital yesterday, I nearly threw up and passed out. Oh yeah, that was the other thing as well. Right, before I let you go, I'm going to give you the Monday of all Mondays, right? So, the Monday of all Mondays also kind of like came into the sort of like all things come in threes, So, the first thing that happened, which was really weird, which is about an hour before I got the call about my mother, was that I tripped on the top step. I came down like a sack of shit on my knee, my shin, my foot, my left one, which is already broken and rebuilt, which was odd. So now that is all black and blue from top to toe. And my shoulder and my elbow, they're black and blue. So yeah, I had a bit of a clonk, a bit of a fall. So that was a bit naff. So when I was feeling sorry for myself and having a cup of tea, that's when my father called about, well, he didn't call. Well, he did call. I don't even know. It was a call. It's so rare. I just like, what the heck? So yeah, he called and said what was going on. So that went into kind of like ready mode and sorting mode. But to cap it all, right? So there's me running around like an headless chicken. And so I'm like, before I go, I'm like making sure I've like picked up stuff for me mum that she might need. Little did I know she had a ready bag back in her house. But I was also quite, because I had to go over and get some bits and bobs for her from my father, which is always a time of joy. Anyway, so basically, I will get to the point of this story, but trust me, it's worth it. So I ran about and I was shutting all the doors, making sure everybody was safe and sound, had their water and their food, and zoomies off to Darton. So staying around for a few hours. As I said, literally the heat in that hospital, I just went green. I nearly threw up, and I was just kind of gripping onto the side of the bed, and I thought, I'm going to pass out here. But the nurse brought a chair, and I was like, thank you so much, guys. Sorry, she winked at me. I was like, you freaking no, stop it. But to cap it all, right, so basically, most important thing is me mum. Most important thing is me mum right now, and that's. But I'm going to tell you this funny thing. So after all of this, after the day of, I'm in agony and I'm really exhausted, and I get home and all I want to do is have a cup of tea and flump, right? Cup of tea, fine. Put on the teacup heater. Absolute game changer. I'll keep saying that all day long. And I flumped onto my bed, laying back, just wishing the world away, until I had this feeling, this cold, damp feeling in the middle of my freaking back. Davros had been locked in the bedroom by accident. There's not a litter box in there. He's all freaked out. He's peed on my pissing bed. Not peed on my pissing bed, but peed on my bloody bed. And he was in the corner just like looking at me, and you could tell he was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. I couldn't find a litter box. I had to go. You were gone for ages. Like, you let me in here instead of steering me downstairs. It's your fault. And I'm like, so I had to kind of like obviously clean the bed, clean the mattress, take all the bedding off, like get all that washed, and to clean the mattress, put some salts on it to kind of lift it all out. Hopefully I'll be able to save the mattress, and otherwise I'll have to buy another one. So yeah, after that was the Mondayest of Mondays. I challenge you to beat that one. Seriously, I'm going to make a challenge for you. If you've got this far in my recording, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. But please tell me, can you beat the Mondayest Monday of all Mondays? Seriously. And that's not even the whole story of everything that's going on. So I was just like, all you can do is laugh, really, can't you? Well, you're kind of like tears running down your face, and you're kind of clearing up cat pee, and it's just like, oh God. So yeah, I might have to buy myself a new mattress. We'll see how it is today when it's all dry. Anyway, where did we get to? So yeah, if you're too hot, hydrate. But most of all, my lovely beams, who I appreciate more than anything on this planet, stay safe. And I'll talk to you soon, Petal.